once again, and welcome back to New Day here on TV3. From the short video that you just viewed, hopefully you'll be able to gather that we're entering our health segment at this moment in time, which is brought to you by Lipton Tea, your #1 tea brand. Now with me this morning I have Dr. Bote, resident health expert and doctor. How's your weekend, Doc?
It was great. I spent the whole of yesterday afternoon dancing the afternoon with my dad.
Nice
one.
one.
There was an event there for fathers.
Fathers, yeah.
I took him there and we had a good dance. And
Good.
I also gave a lecture on prostate cancer.
Nice. Well done. All right. So let's talk about mumps. First off, what is mumps?
Mumps is usually evidenced by swelling of the parotid glands, and usually it's at the jaw and the angle of the jaw. In the local parlance, to make it easier, in the tree parlance, they will call it jemrekutu. And then in the Gans, we call it incubation. And back in the days, you realize that people have swellings at the angles of their jaw.
Yep.
And the grandmothers and the traditional people will put certain colors on their cheeks, blue, red, green, and thinking that that is what is going to help it heal,
Yep.
or to cure the infection. I don't know if there are any be connected to spiritual or anything, but that is what we used to see back then.
Yes.
But it's actually a swelling of the parotid gland as a result of an infection by a certain virus called the Mumps virus.
Right. Now, you say the parotid gland. Where's that situated on your...
Yeah, so again, the parotid gland is a salivary gland. What I mean by salivary gland is that a lot of times when you see food, you begin to salivate.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't even think about where saliva is coming from. It's so common that we don't even think about it. But the saliva in your mouth has a function. So we have certain glands around your cheeks where, you know, here we have your jaw. There are muscles there. We call them the muscles of mastication.
Yep. The jaw, the chewing muscles.
So just around your jaw, at the angle of the jaw to the frontal part of your ear, the parotid gland is a big gland over there. So as you chew, as you masticate, the muscles also massage the gland to keep releasing some saliva to mix with your food and lubricate your mouth. There are other ones, we call this one the submandibular gland. That one is down here. And then also just under your tongue, there is another one called the sublingual gland. All these things are the major salivary glands that can release saliva into your mouth to help with it. It contains enzymes and all these things to help digestion. And as I said, we all don't think about it. We think it's just natural. Until you have a problem with it, you never think, saliva is just normal. And in any case, a lot of people go through life without any problem with anything has got to do with saliva. So we don't even think about it. So these are the salivary glands that produce saliva. And then when it gets infected, especially the parotid glands, either by viruses or by other bacteria, and then sometimes, because we've spoken about blood clotting, DVT, we've spoken about even your urine can get kidney stones. We talked about the gallbladder, can get gallbladder stones. In the same way, strangely enough, or uncommon enough, you can also have saliva stones.
Wow.
So we call them steatolithiasis. We call this one cholelithiasis and nephrolithiasis.
So it would just be another build-up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because saliva itself has chemicals in it. So it's not just water, but chemicals with enzymes and a lot of things in there. So a swelling of the parotid gland caused by the Mumps virus is what we call jemrekutu or incubation.
I remember that when I was a kid. Now, who gets mumps? Who are the people that are affected by it most?
Mumps is common in children, and also can also happen to adults. For kids, usually the symptoms are not as painful as it would be for people in their teenagers and maybe in the early adulthood. But mostly it's because it's a viral thing. It has to do with immune strength to fight the virus.
Okay.
So kids will be more affected because their immune system is not that strong, and especially if they haven't been vaccinated against it. And for adults who have also not been vaccinated, they could pick up the infection anytime in their teenagers. And in actual fact, it is even more dangerous in terms of complications for those who pick it up later on in life than for the children.
Right. You mentioned vaccination just there. Let's just touch on that ever so quickly, because that's the main reason why we've got reduced numbers of cases of mumps. MMR, the measles, mumps, rubella vaccination. Tell us a little bit about that quickly.
Yeah, back in the day, we used to see a lot of these mumps with people's cheeks swelling and their jaw side swelling, and you have all these things. We don't see a lot of these diseases because of a certain vaccine that has been developed to make sure that kids don't pick it up. Once they are giving what we call the MMR, is also a vaccine that like the way we have the 6 childhood killer diseases that we usually inject them and give them vaccinations. At 9 months usually, the kids are giving the measles virus. That's our system. But with the MMR, it's a combination of measles, mumps, and rubella. Right. Another name for rubella is the German measles. So you have measles and also German measles. Yeah. So with the MMR, when a child is giving the MMR, usually around 12 months to 15 months, at the age of 1 year, and then a booster again given when the child is about 4 to 6 years old, that gives a very a long-term immunity to getting the virus. So it's important that when you have your child and you go through the normal stream of immunization and vaccinations, take into consideration the fact that mumps is also something that can affect your child, and therefore get a vaccination for mumps, because the complications thereof, as we'll talk about, is very serious.
Yeah. Okay. Now, in the video we were watching, we heard about the incubation period, and there not being any symptoms throughout that period. What are some of the symptoms of mumps when you've gone through the incubation period?
Good. When I exposed to the infection, as we saw from the video, it's usually through respiratory droplets.
Right.
So I may be exposed to the virus. The virus goes through incubation inside of me, sometimes 2 weeks to 3 weeks, right inside of me. I may not show signs of mumps, or I may not show the usual signs, but then it doesn't mean I'm not infective.
Right.
In fact, before the signs and symptoms begin to show in the person, before you see the swelling of the gland, the person has become even infectious already about 6 days prior to that period.
Right.
So 6 days before the onset of symptoms, the person is infectious, and the disease will run its course of about maybe 10 to 14 days.
Okay.
And then it's self-limiting, so it will just go off. And even after the disease is gone off, the next 9 to 10 days, the person is still infectious.
Right.
So the person will be sneezing, coughing around, and then in some cases, therefore, the person has to be quarantined or be separated from other people, because if you're in a boarding house, for example, and somebody sneezes,
that's what happened
pillows,
to me. Yeah,
it happened to you.
Yeah. When I was in Achimota, one of our school friends got mumps, and he was quarantined straight to the Achimota.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They will sneeze around, and the pillows are all there, and you go and sleep on somebody else's pillow. In the boarding house, you sleep on everybody's bed, and just like that. So you have the droplets right there in the environment, so you can pick it up as well before and after the infection. Now, when the person begins to show signs, prior to you seeing the visible swelling, the person may go through the normal fever or the normal things that everybody, as usual, again, will think, oh, he's getting malaria. Having feverishness, myalgia or body pains, anorexia or like loss of appetite, and then fever, temperature goes up, and then usually they'll be taking paracetamol, and as usual they want to take some anti-malarials, which usually may not. So it was only at a point in time that you realize that I'm beginning to have pain at the angles of my jaw, and then swelling may also be it will be followed with a swelling of the jaw, and sometimes it may make swallowing or chewing very difficult, because that is where you produce your saliva from. So once there's an infection in it, and the muscles of mastication want to massage the same parotid gland, it's going to give you pain. So that's the kind of symptom that you will notice when you have mumps or the parotid swelling.
Okay, now so it's safe to say then, I mean, if when you're infected and you've gone through the incubation period, and say before you actually see the symptoms, potentially a week has already passed, anybody who's been in contact with you for that week could also potentially get mumps very, very quickly. So they should also be aware.
And they should be aware.
Now, I know there's no actual treatment for mumps. It just has to run its course. So for somebody who has been exposed to somebody with mumps, let's say we've been in the same room, you've had mumps, you just got diagnosed, I've been with you for a week, then therefore I'm next.
Exactly. That's it. I mean, Unlike other kind of conditions, like let's say tetanus or rabies, you know, when you get bitten by a dog,
you can go and have
to the hospital and said, okay, I've been bitten. Probably I've been exposed to rabies, so I want a rabies vaccine which can be given to you. Or you get some injury and they're giving tetanus, and then you say that you are safe. With that of mumps, it's not like that. Once you have been, there's nothing like post-exposure immunization. It won't help. Yeah. Once you have been exposed, then you are the next victim.
That's it.
So the most important thing is getting the prior immunization before it happens.
Right.
So in any case, anybody who is exposed, like people come to the hospital and say that, oh, my child has got chicken pox. What about can you help my other kids from getting chicken pox?
It's too late.
I tell them it was too late. Don't worry.
Yeah.
They'll go through it. And again, the good thing about mumps is that it is self-limiting. It will run its course.
Yeah.
So whether you put these dots, blue color, green, and everything, like you have the black star colors, you can put red, gold, green, everything over there. The people want to believe that it is those things that help the thing to go. No, it is not. It is a viral infection and it's self-limiting. Just like chickenpox, you can go and bathe in the sea, you can go and do everything. You just need to alleviate the symptoms. If the person is having the pain, the person having fever and all these things, just give something like paracetamol to bring down the temperature, reduce the pain, etc. But it will still run its course. So it's not a matter of painting the cheeks as if you are going to watch Brazil soccer and they pull the expectations.
Well, today is allowed. Today is allowed. Right. What is? I was reading through a little bit. I saw something that was very alarming, especially to me as a man. I heard that in extreme cases of mumps, there can be complications that can arise for testicular enlargement.
Well, that's very true. Interestingly, one of the things that we always ask men who come into the hospital with issues about subfertility or infertility is to ask them whether when they were teenagers, they ever had any mumps infection.
Right.
For unknown reasons, like there are certain bacteria that have predilection for some parts of your body. The organism that will cause pneumonia may not cause something else.
Yeah.
So mumps is so funny that it affects the parotid gland. Yet the next part it likes to affect is the testis, and all the way down.
And it's not just it's not both. It's one.
Yes. So we call it mumps orchitis, and any inflammation or infection of the testis is called orchitis. Okay. And then with the testis too, there are these. What do you feel some cord around it? We call it epididymis. So sometimes we have the orchitis and epididymitis or epididymal orchitis. Mumps, after developing here, can just like cancer that has moved to another part, just goes to affect the testis, and sometimes they cause testicular enlargement, and also sometimes they cause testicular atrophy, like a shrinking in the size of the testis, and this would go a long way to affect the sperm production and of the man, and we've had cases where it has led to subfertility in the men.
Yeah,
so the complication is orchitis and then infertility. But again, in some women too, once it goes to the testes, then on the female counterpart, that will be the ovaries. So a few females may also get what we call uveitis, the infection of or inflammation of the ovary. That also could be a way of leading to subfertility in women. That is not also the only complication, the fertility issues yet. So mumps is really something we should be careful about. It has other complications where the mumps virus, the fact that it's around the face, it can easily affect the meninges.
Right, the brain.
It goes into the brain and affect the covering of the brain. So if you take, the brain has a covering called the meninges. So like you take fantidoconal and you have so many wrappers around it. Yeah. So it's the same with the brain. So it can affect the meninges and give case meningitis, or even affect the brain substance itself. We call encephalitis, and then other organs in the body.
Wow. Okay. Doc, what's your advice to anybody out there who at the moment may think they have symptoms of mumps, even though they may not, or who's actually dealing with mumps? Good.
Again, if you have swelling at the right side of on your jaw, be it right or left, there are differential diagnoses. Recently, a mother came and the child had this swelling at the this part, the submandibular part, and she thought it was mumps. And I told her it's not mumps. She was like, no, this is. I said the mumps is parotid, it's here.
Right.
I mean this way.
Yeah.
All right. So this one is here. I said this one could be just a lymph node that is swollen. Possibly your child may not be able to swallow well, may complain about pain in swallowing. So let's look into the mouth. We opened the mouth and the tonsils were swollen.
Right.
So that's tonsillitis, and the only way the body will be able to fight is for the regional lymph nodes to produce antibodies. So whilst they are producing the antibodies, there's a lot of lymph nodes that get into action to produce antibodies to fight the infection in the tonsils. So the doctor will have to decipher between what kind of swelling it is.
Yeah.
Recently, I had a tooth infection,
I remember.
pericoronitis, and I had to go and take out my tooth. Because of the infection, my whole jaw was swollen. My lymph node was as big as something else. But I mean, after taking out the tooth and taking my antibiotics, the lymph node is gone.
Right.
So jaw swellings may not always be parotitis or may not always be mumps. It could be swelling of lymph nodes because of even infections in the pharynx or the tonsils. So if you have such a thing, just see your doctor. If he examines you very well, and you'll be able to figure out what it is. And again, what I would advise is that mothers should make sure that if we want to clear. In the developed world, they've gone very far. I mean,
they've reduced the number significantly.
Virtually non-existent.
Yeah.
So we should make sure that we are vaccinating our children with mumps, measles, and rubella vaccine, and then that will go a long way to help us eliminate it.
All right. Once again, thank you ever so much for educating us, Dr. Bote. And this has been our health segment, which has been brought to you by Lipton Tea. But before we disappear, your prediction for tonight's match?
3-1.
3-1. Everyone's going with the exchange rate.
Yeah.
I like it.